Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'll be reading from an article on yahoo.com titled Spain Calls for International Weapons Embargo on Israeli Government. Spain is calling for an international arms embargo on the 1948er government, as I'll be referring to them as for the rest of the video, to end the war and the humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip. We must all agree on joint arms embargo, Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez told journalists at the start of a ministerial meeting of the so-called Madrid group in the Spanish capital on Sunday. The last thing the Middle East needs right now is weapons. And just from those two paragraphs alone, that goes to show that those 1948ers aren't the true people of the book. The true children of Israel are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. And those 1948ers over there don't fulfill anything that would be taking place when, the children of Israel were back in the Holy Land, because there damn sure wouldn't be any wars or violence or humanitarian crises taking place. This is Micah chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header on the Blue Letter Bible says, peaceful latter days. And did those last two paragraphs sound very peaceful? But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And in the scriptures, mountains and hills can be symbolic for governments, bigger governments and smaller governments. So the mountain of the house of Yahweh that's going to be established in the top of the mountains is the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Israel. And as it says, people shall flow unto it. And do what? And many nations, many heathen nations shall come and say, come, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh and to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And we clearly see that these nations aren't going to these 1948ers for answers. As we can see, many nations, including Spain, which we're reading about in that article, are going against those 1948ers and their actions towards those Palestinian Arabs or Ishmaelites. And also, we can see, as it says, for the law shall go forth of Zion and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. The laws, statutes, and commandments in the scriptures damn sure aren't being instituted by those 1948ers. Because what? You have a parliament and a democracy and a government with separate secular laws from the scriptures. Those 1948ers over there that do practice, religion, they mainly follow the Talmud. And then you've got Tel Aviv being known as Pink City, one of the pride hotspots on the face of the earth. Just complete madness. But here's the main point I wanted to get to in verse 3. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And do we clearly see that's the case right now? No, you've got that continuing war in Gaza against Hamas. You've got the war in Ukraine, and then you've got wars and rumors of wars. China versus Taiwan, the 1948ers versus Iran, NATO and the US versus Russia, and World War III hasn't even taken place yet. So, things just don't line up with those 1948ers. This is Isaiah 60, verse 18, another future prophecy of what would be taking place when the, children of Israel were back in the land. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation and thy gates praise. So there wouldn't be a need for a call to stop the violence or weapons embargoes. Alvarez also called for an immediate suspension of the European Union's partnership agreement with the 1948ers, a measure currently being considered in Brussels, and for the imposition of targeted sanctions against individuals who obstruct the two-state solution. If necessary, sanctions should also be imposed against 1948er Prime Minister Benjamin Milkowski, or Benjamin Netanyahu as he's changed his name to, Alvarez asserted. Nothing that is being discussed here is directed against the state of the 1948ers, the top Spanish diplomat emphasized, but he also made it clear that the Palestinian people have exactly the same right to peace and security as the 1948er people. There is no alternative to the two-state solution for achieving lasting and just peace, Alvarez said. But that's where he's wrong. The only alternative is the kingdom of heaven, where the children of Israel are established back in the land, and these heathen nations are going to come unto us to learn of our laws, statutes, and commandments, and war would never be a thought anymore. So that calls to reason. So who are those people over there right now? Well, they are Hebrews, but they're not Hebrew Israelites. They're Hebrew Edomites, more specifically of the tribe of Amalek. And those Spanish and those Europeans, hey, they're Edomites as well, though you do have Israelite foreigners scattered amongst them that look like them. And we're seeing clear divisions between the house of Esau right now, between Europe and the 1948ers, and hey, between Europe and the U.S. And what did Yahushua, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, say in Mark chapter 3, verses 24 to 25? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And like I just said, the house of these Edomites are divided, with these European Edomites growing in opposition to those Amalekite Edomites, and then the Edomites within this kingdom of the iron toes mixed with miry clay in Daniel chapter 2, the reincarnated Roman Empire, which is this NATO EU system that the U.S. is a part of and at the head of, or have divisions amongst themselves. We are in the twilight hours of Esau Edom's nation ruling before World War III, where America's own allies are going to turn against her and ally themselves with nations like Russia and China to shoot nuclear missiles onto her. And hey, those nations are also going to turn against the 1948ers, and the Holy Land is going to get hit by missiles as well. Again, cutting those 1948ers, because as it said in Isaiah 60, verse 18, violence shall no more be heard in thy land. The Spanish government is one of the harshest critics in Europe of the 1948ers' military action in Gaza. Again, nation would not learn war anymore, nor make weapons. In September last year, it organized the first meeting of the Madrid Group, ministers and high-ranking representatives from around 20 countries in Europe. If a house be divided against itself, kingdom be divided against itself. And the Arab world, as well as Brazil, are taking part in the second meeting. Germany was involved for the first time and was represented by Foreign Office Minister Florian Hahn. So that's it with this article. But this is just another clear cut to those imposters over in the land. You don't fit any prophecies dealing with what the children of Israel would be doing when they were back in the land. But hey, you do fit prophecies dealing with what the heathens, specifically the Edomites, would be doing when they had the land in their possession. Which brings me to Ezekiel 36, verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which is just the Greek way of saying Edom, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. And how was that land appointed into the possession of those Amalekite Edomites? With the groundwork being set after World War I with the Balfour Declaration, and then the further cementing the deal after World War II with the help of the U.S. and the UN with the 1948 Declaration of Independence. And then immediately you had the Arab-Israeli War. You've had the 6 Days War. Fast forward to today with many other wars that have taken place. And again, World War III hasn't even happened yet. I'm going to close it out in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 6. A bastard, a fatherless man, which you Edomites are bastards. You're fatherless to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. As it says in Hebrews 12, let me get it. Hebrews 12, 16 to 17. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, and profane means being outside of the temple, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright, showing how base you Edomites are. Your forefather sold your birthright for some food to our forefather Jacob because he was famished. 17. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. And our forefather Jacob also supplanted the blessing to the kingdom of heaven from your forefather, which it was all in the spirit for Jacob to receive it anyway. But as it says, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. You Edomites are rejected by the Most High and have no place of repentance. You're bastards. And after the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven, you're going to get that Obadiah 1:18 treatment, where your entire nation is going to be culled from this planet by fire. So back in Zechariah 9, verse 6, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, which Ashdod is in the land of Israel, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.